Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again at Get Real with Nat. And I am so excited for what we have today. I have Heather with me, and the point of this whole podcast is to educate buyers and sellers. And this podcast is specifically for buyers, but I want my sellers to stay tuned because you have to know what's going on in the market and what buyers are going through, those buyers that are going to purchase your home. So, like I mentioned, I have Heather here with Simply Mortgage, and she's just an amazing person. I've heard great, fabulous things about her. She just joined us here at the Fig Team, and she's just been helping buyers get through the door. Heather, thanks so much for joining me. I'm so excited.
So
We've
welcome.
been trying to get this going for some time, but mom life, right?
That's okay. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, like I started off in my last podcast, what are you drinking today? What's in your cup?
Tropical Vibe Celsius. It is my go-to. It keeps me fueled for all the things that I need to get accomplished in a day.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying, like that's like the mom drink for the daytime
Yes,
to get us by. Let's get
that's
through
right.
this. Oh my gosh, I get it. So I'm just drinking some decaf tea. Believe it or not, I have been on like no caffeine for 3 weeks. I
Are
know.
you okay?
No, I know. There's days that I'm like my eyes are like, I think the middle of the day, I'm already like low key passing out. But
That's
I've been
okay though.
good. Yeah, I've been good and I feel good right now. So, the withdrawal was a little rough.
It's like the first 3 days. If you can get over that hump, then you're gonna survive. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I did. It was like a lot of headaches. I kind of feel bad saying withdrawal, but because it kind of makes me sound a little crazy, but we all know about that, right? We all know
Mhm.
about the withdrawal
You
from
get so
caffeine.
used to it though.
I know, but I'm trying. I've been on a health journey for a few years now, and that was one of them that I kind of wanted to kick back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I feel good, all good stuff. But you keep doing your Celsius. You stick with that. We need you alert,
That's right.
awake. All right. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, what is it that you mostly do, and then how did you get into lending?
So I have been in the finance industry since 2009.
Mhm.
A funny story though, it's actually my favorite story to tell because I accidentally got into the mortgage business. I say that with all seriousness. This is like my daughter, she's like 4 months old.
Mm,
And it was one of those like sleepless nights where I'm like, I have to go back to work. I don't care what I'm doing. I cannot do this. Like, I love my kids,
yeah.
but I am definitely the working mom where I was a better mom when I was working, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I'm like
100%.
scrolling through Indeed or whatever website it was, and I was applying to like whatever said like one click apply, like I was clicking.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I went back to sleep and I was nice and refreshed. And I get this phone call and they're like, oh, we would like to interview you. And at this point, like, I've already slept. I'm good. I'm like back to like mom life. I don't want to go back to work. And they're like, no, we definitely want to interview you for this position. So I was like, sure. Why not? Let me just get out of the house, get, all dolled up, go and just talk to adults instead of
Yeah.
babies, right?
Yeah.
So I go and they kind of gave me an offer that I really couldn't refuse, even knowing that like my, background was more so finance, not mortgages.
Mm.
And they just liked me for me and trained me to take on that role. And that was back in 2015. And here we are 10 years later. And I honestly don't see myself doing anything else.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. And you
Yes.
know what? I do think we have some similarities in our story. My daughter, so I have my son that's 5, and my daughter, she's 4. They're 18 months apart. And I get that feeling of like I'm stuck at home. I was
Mhm.
busy doing things before baby life, and you kind of just stop. Like you stop everything, and that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
that
mentally, you have to like separate it. And I'm like, I need to human adult interaction.
Yeah, yeah, and actually that's been a lot of the conversations I've had recently was a lot of stay-at-home moms. I'm like, if you don't want to go to work, don't go to work, please. Like everyone has a calling. But if you're kind of getting like in a little bit of a rut, at least find a hobby if you're feeling like you need it. Please take care of yourself in that
Yeah.
way. Some of us go to work and some of us just need to kind of get out and find a hobby or a mom group or just going to the Pilates like but
Yeah.
it's really important to take care of ourselves. But after my daughter turned one is when I got into real estate too.
I love
I
that.
get that. Yeah.
It's
Oh my
just
God.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in this industry, we have so much flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have the ability to, sell
Yeah.
houses and, get clients pre approved.
Right.
We can also be present in our kids' lives. And for me, that's like the absolute most important thing because our kids, they only have one childhood,
Yeah.
and we're learning how to be moms as we, hit every next milestone, whether they're newborns to teenagers. So
Yeah.
we're still living this, we're doing all the things as well. So,
Yeah. It is really cool to pick up I mean, it's not fun at the time, but it's like I was
yeah.
able to be at the soccer game and maybe send just that one text and but then I'm still so present at their event and
Yeah.
or like you know what today's I cannot work today because today's my kid's day and like
Mhm.
that's a whole other story. I kind of want to do another podcast of just moms and like
Yeah.
experiences because there's
Mhm.
so many things of like reasons why we got here but thank you for sharing that because it's part of your story but you're being so open and I might even help someone out there that might be
That's right.
interested in getting into lending or
That's
real
right.
estate all those kinds of things so awesome thank you so much. Okay, so my first question was what would be your top piece of advice for a first-time home buyer to prepare financially before touring homes?
Yeah, so I love this question because so many people just think like, oh, I'm going to go out and I think I'm going to buy a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified, get pre-approved, know your budget.
Yeah.
Know exactly what it goes like what goes into that. Down payment requirements, what do you qualify for? Knowing closing costs, right? Yes, a down payment is part of it, but so many people are like, wait, there's more? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
closing costs. You're looking at between, 2 to 5% in addition to your down payment if, they don't have seller concessions and different things like that.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have inspections that you have to pay for. Some houses need multiple inspections, you know what I mean? So knowing really everything that goes into buying a house and being educated to know that you're not just jumping into something that you're really like you have a solid foundation for what you're looking to do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, I have done tours. I know some people are like, it's a hard no, no pre-approval, no
Mhm.
showing. I'm like, I get it. I do because I have also been in situations where like somebody's wasting their time or both
Yeah,
people are wasting their time. Or maybe you get your hopes up and then like you don't even, I think that's what crushes me the most. It's like you get your hopes up
100%.
and you're not even ready and let's just get you there. I don't know if I added this question, but like, do you create like a game plan for your buyers?
Yeah, so kind of like what we do, like I always ask my clients, I don't always pull credit immediately, like if we're in just like
Mhm.
the navigating process, right? Or maybe we'll do a soft credit pull to kind of see where they are. Because sometimes clients' credit isn't ready, right? They
Yeah.
don't know. They may have things that they didn't know. And when we do that, we can navigate a plan as far as if we have to get our credit score up or, different things like that.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that because sometimes it's not always that they're meeting the lender first, but they're meeting the realtor first. And like I
Mhm.
was mentioning, I will do a showing without a pre-approval. And then I'll say in that like showing, I'm like, hey, let's do a consultation. I'll try to like get an like information about them. And then I'm like, let's connect you. And for example, I'd be like, let's connect you to Heather. And then if they're not ready, it's like, Heather, let's create a game plan, for them. If it's going to take them 6 months, great. If
Yeah.
it's going to take a year, perfect. That's okay. Like the point is, let's find out where you stand without feeling bad about it, right? Like,
No, and there's
yeah.
no reason to feel bad
Mhm.
because sometimes, listen, there are people that go through situations, whether it's job loss, it's
Yeah.
divorce. Nobody's like picture is always perfect, right? It's just
Yeah.
a part of your journey.
Mhm.
And if it, takes a little bit more time. Sometimes, we have what's called like rapid rescore where we can pull credit and see, okay, your score is at this number, but I can increase it by 100 points if you do this, this, and this.
Yeah. Oh,
It
I love
can be done
that.
immediately, right? And that's fantastic. Sometimes it's like, okay, we don't have any short term opportunities to get your credit score up, but I can have a plan that's 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road, but it's a start, right?
Yeah.
And always monitoring your credit. It's so important. A lot of people don't realize, they're like, oh, well, Credit Karma says this. And I'm like, well, Credit Karma is the biggest liar because, you know, just being honest, it kind of, the average is about
Yeah.
30 to 50 points different because like they don't
Oh,
calculate, certain pieces and parts, whereas a mortgage credit report is different than an auto credit report, which is
yeah.
different than, so many different variations of what your credit score is.
Okay.
There's such like a difference around it. And, we have 3 credit bureaus and we go by your middle score. So
Hmm.
even if you have 2 borrowers, we will go by that lowest middle score. That's how we, calculate that for everyone.
Yeah. Where was the credit class when we were in high school?
No, they were teaching things that we didn't need to know.
Oh my gosh, I'm saying that but I do love that piece about the lending. It's like people have no idea that if you just if they give you the opportunity to just kind of review that report, they might not even, and this is no hate towards credit repair people. I just think that this is a really good opportunity to have someone like digest it for you, and you don't have to hire this third party. It's just do it naturally for a few months, and
Yeah.
you might be
Just
like ready faster than what you think.
Yeah, just like making sure you pay things on time,
Mhm.
right? Like just little things like that, paying down your balances, just monitoring all of those things really does make a big impact on your score.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's going to be a whole other one too. I think we're going to have to do that separately. Like,
Yes.
hey, how to boost your
Yeah.
credit with
Yeah.
Heather. Okay, so my next question, I really wanted to ask this one. What's your favorite loan or buyer assistance program right now that more people should take advantage of?
So I love this question. There's so many different things, and I always like to tell people it's not a one size fits
Yeah.
all, right? So we have so many first time homebuyer programs
Hmm.
that aren't right for every person.
Yes.
So by giving us the opportunity to do a full, pre-approval, pull credit, take a look at everything and look at short-term versus long-term as well. A
Hmm.
lot of these programs you have to pay the money back, right?
Yes.
So sometimes you guys can negotiate a deal where you get seller concessions. They have some money, but they don't have all of the money, right? And it puts them in a situation where maybe they don't have to worry about coming up with those funds when they sell it or refinance it or, whatever that looks like for them. There are 100% financing programs, which is great. All you have to come up with out of pocket is your seller concession or your closing cost, or it can be replaced by the seller giving a concession towards that. Another one, we also have 101.5, which does cover a good portion of those closing costs as well. With those programs, you're going to take a little bit of a hit in your rate, just because
Hmm.
you're getting it up front, right?
Yeah.
So you always have to kind of, evaluate what makes the most sense for you. Another great one is Hometown Heroes. It's shocking to me right now that there's still funds left and available. This year, it did get funded with less money and it did come with a little bit more restrictions. You have to be a hometown hero, so doctor, teacher, firefighter, police officer, and it'll give you up to 5% of the purchase price up to 35,000 towards your down payment and closing cost on a home, which is incredible. It really does help those who truly need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're saying that obviously there's different programs. I know there's so many of them, and it's not one size fits all. But there is some that you could get 100% for a down payment, and then there's some that you could, and then that's kind of a cool one. And I'm not just picking one. I'm just saying that if you do qualify, right? Because there's that
Mhm.
if you qualify for
Yeah.
it. Um, and obviously hit up Heather to see if you
Mhm.
do. But if you do, then we can try to get the seller to give you the closing costs, and you could
Mhm.
possibly come in with zero or not zero, because we
Yeah.
never want to promise a zero,
Yeah.
but we definitely
Very little.
but you very little, right? And then it just living or purchasing, I'm sorry, could be much more affordable than what you would think. And then with Hometown Heroes too, I mean, I think this is kind of like how I was trained, but when I would calculate like your closing costs more or less, if you some people start with like a 3.5%, obviously you can go with more. And then sometimes closing costs we range up between 3 to 5%.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 3 to 5% is a
Mhm.
pretty good range, just
Yeah,
really depending, property taxes are so different, homeowners
right.
insurance it's really hard to like
Hmm.
gear towards that. That's why I always tell all of my clients, if you're shopping and you're like, okay, I really narrowed it down to 5 houses or however many houses it may be,
Hmm.
send me the address because I can give you a breakdown of that principal, interest, taxes, insurance, homeowners insurance to give you a better educated understanding of each property because believe it or not, it can be like two houses right next door to each other
Yeah,
are going to have drastically different property taxes.
yeah.
One may be homesteaded, one may not be
Mhm.
homesteaded.
Yeah.
And it really does make a huge difference for
Hmm.
for clients.
Yeah. And then if the total amount that they need to bring at the table is, let's say, I don't know, like an 8% more or less, um, Hometown Heroes giving you 5% of that is huge. So teachers, doctors, police officers, first responders, like if you haven't purchased your home yet, let's talk to Heather and see if you qualify for something that honestly, this Hometown Heroes ran so quick last year, and then we still have fun, so take advantage. And it's the
Yeah.
end of the year, so it's a little bit slower, so more
Yeah.
opportunities for buyers.
Yeah. Another thing that I also want to talk about that can be super helpful
Yeah.
is a 2-for-1 buy down.
Oh,
Right now, more than ever, it's huge because, the first year that set interest rate is 2% less. The next year it's 1% less. And then it goes back to the locked in interest rate. And
mhm.
for, you can do that temporary buy down, that money goes into an escrow account and it gets funded into your payment, right? You're still making the full payments technically, but it's coming from a reserved, escrow account that pays into that. The seller, if they're going to do a seller concession, say, obviously each one is calculated differently based on what that rate is. Um, but it can be a huge impact to for clients to qualify or feel comfortable until they're ready to refinance. When
Right.
you do a permanent rate buy down, that money is gone. You
Mm-hmm.
buy the rate down, if you refinance it, it's gone. The money for that 2-for-1 buy down that can be paid for by the seller goes into that escrow account. If you sell, you get it back. So you still were able to take advantage of that opportunity and use it,
Yeah.
to the best ability.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned it because I know a lot of people that are doing the 2-1 buy down. So
Mhm.
I haven't personally worked with one, but and I always bring it up like, hey, let's
Mhm.
see if now there are like concessions that you need for property things like repairs and whatnot, but
Yeah.
if the seller is really motivated, they could give you that credit and say, okay, let me just help you get into my home so that I can get out and
Right?
you're comfortable not only with the physical home, but also with your monthly payments.
Mhm.
So thank you for bringing that up. And I really hope people take advantage of these programs. Like it's such a great market for buyers too, to take
Absolutely.
advantage of. Okay, so the next one, oh, let me see. I was thinking about changing it up, but I'll just kind of go in order.
Mhm.
So, with today's market and rates, what's something buyers can do to make themselves stronger and more competitive?
So getting fully pre-approved, there's definitely a difference between being pre-approved and being pre-qualified.
Hmm.
And I always like to tell people like the biggest difference is we verified everything. Someone can tell me that they make $10,000 a month, and yes, I pulled their credit score. But until I have supporting documentation to prove all of those things,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
yeah.
I always tell, my realtor partners and my clients that if you have a pre-approval letter from me, it's rock solid.
Hmm.
It may take me a little bit longer to get all of those documents as fast as the client moves to get them to me.
Yeah.
But knowing when you're accepting an offer with one of my approval letters, the buyer is qualified.
Hmm.
It makes a world of a difference versus pre-approved versus pre-qualified. It really
Yeah.
sets their offer apart.
And I'm glad that you do that because a lot of listing agents, like the agents that represent the sellers, they call you and they double check. They're like, hey, is she
Yeah.
rock solid? Like, are we gonna have any issues here?
I love when listing agents call me because
Yeah.
like obviously, you can't give too much details, but I can always tell them, my client is very, approved. Like they are solid. There's no question, that they have good job history. You know,
Hmm.
it I love talking to listing agents.
Yeah. And
And
I'm glad you do.
I
Hmm.
respect that they want to call, right? Because it's not just taking a piece of paper, for proof. Having that conversation is really doing their seller, they would be doing them a disservice if they didn't.
Yeah, in the very, very beginning of my real estate experience, it was like one of my first listings. I did reach out to the lender. I was trying to do my due diligence and everything was fine. I'm like, cool, perfect, let's rock and roll. The only thing that it was in the beginning, I didn't really check in on him in the middle because everything was going so smooth. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, cool, we're rocking and rolling, let's go. We got to the end of the contract. No one's answering me at this point. And then I find out and I call the lender. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, no, that's not my deal. And I'm like, whoa. It's like, I spoke to you. Like I did my part, you know. And he's like, no, that's not my deal. Anyways, it all worked out fine. They had another, I'm like, which is
Yeah.
like communication is so important, right? And I should
Communication
have
is key.
checked in the middle. I do now every single time. But I think just because I checked in the beginning, I was just so confident that everything was fine. But great lenders, great realtors always check in, and I'm glad that you do that as well. So, the thing is that sellers and the buyers, they come first and they need that confidence. And I'm glad that you are here with me because you really instill that confidence that like, hey, I know what I'm doing and I'm making sure that this is going to get to the end. So that's perfect. Okay, so I think this is this one's about investors. I don't know how often you work with investors, but um, sorry, what's your best advice for a real estate investor in today's market?
I mean, so again, right now, rates are so
Hmm.
crazy and all over the place to where, rates obviously for investment loans are going to be higher than a primary purchase. And
Yeah.
I think really the biggest piece of it is focus, more so like on the cash flow of the deal. Does it make sense for you? If
Yeah.
it makes sense for you, great, carry on. Not necessarily focusing on the rate because you can always refinance later, right?
Yeah.
Real estate is one of the, best assets that you can have. And if you can build that equity, year over year and you can afford it now, then if it works for you, then it's a good deal.
Yeah, and I would love to have you again just to talk about those different types of what they call, I believe, the non-QM loans,
Mhm.
which is like a fix and flip loan or a bank statement loan. So many different ways for investors to purchase a home that it doesn't mean like you have to have those $300,000 in cash. Yeah.
Nope, there's so many things about like you have to have 20% or this or that.
Mhm.
There's DSCR loans, profit and
Mhm.
loss loan. I mean, there's so many different things that it's like, I mean, we could go on
Right.
forever
No,
about
that's a
all
whole
the
other
different
class. It's
things.
okay. We're gonna have like 50 classes from this credit score, non-QMs, all those like all that stuff. We're just gonna dive deeper into those things. But okay, so my last question is tell us one of your favorite success stories or a moment where you really helped a buyer win.
Okay. So I get asked this question all the time, and I people think like, okay, what's your favorite transaction or this or what sticks out to you most in your business? And, I have done loans for some very high end clients, purchasing $5+ million homes. And people are like, oh, is that it? No.
Mm,
I loved it. I loved helping.
yeah.
But my like most memorable transaction to me is I was working with a single mom
Mm.
And she had a very strict budget, and she knew exactly the max that she could afford. And it it wasn't the highest amount, right? But
Yeah.
she knew what was going to work for her. So we were very patient. She, was working with her realtor, and it took them 6 months to find a property. And I will never forget the moment where she's like, "Can I tell my kids? Can I tell my
Oh,
kids that we don't have to move again and
yeah.
that they're allowed to paint their rooms whatever color that they want?" And I still get chills and
Yeah.
tears every single time I think about it, because in this business, it's not about, what everybody thinks it's about, right? It's not, how many loans can I do? How much loan volume can I do? How many people's lives can I impact by making home ownership possible for them?
Oh,
Right? You know, having her be like, "Are you sure? Are you positive I can
oh,
tell them?" I'm like, "We are clear to
yes,
close." I'm like,
I
"Yes, you
love
can." And
that.
it just like those moments are so special and remind me like this is why I do what I do, because that changed her life and her kids' life. She owns that property. Like she doesn't have to move unless she wants to.
Yeah.
So that is probably, I will still say, my favorite story.
Yeah, I think because I mean I have a very similar story too, and I think it's because as moms, like our kids and as parents too, well, for all the men
Yeah.
out there, our kids are our everything,
Mhm.
and having your own privacy and space and letting the kids explore and
Yeah.
do whatever they want, although like we really don't want them to, but but just that is so rewarding, and
Mhm.
it's like we want to do things that are with meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
And as much as this business could be super, super superficial, um, it's really about helping our community and
Mhm.
helping those that like need help. And to me, it's like educating. And this is why I wanted to do this podcast was for the educating part. Like I want them to know that it is possible. I want them to know that home ownership is not as difficult as it has to be or it seems to be, especially like with what's going on in the news. I mean, I know that it sounds very scary. I know that the interest rates are, higher than it was during COVID. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that difficult, and you might be able to afford a lot more home than you can think of. But it's just a matter of talking to Heather, talking to me, and like creating that plan for you.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like, rates during COVID times, they were really low, like to the point where
Right,
I'm like, why were they that low? Like
right,
there
right.
wasn't,
I
so
know.
there are people that feel like they're locked into their homes because they're like, where else am I gonna go? But
Yeah.
again, like this is real estate. There's always life events that are always happening. People are getting married, getting divorced, retiring, having
Yeah.
kids. Like there's always a reason why you're going to have to move or buy or sell.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been so much fun. I do have a couple more just questions, and this is going to be just a rapid fire, this
Okay.
or that. Nothing too wild or intimidating, I promise. But this is just so people can get to know you better. I have my opinions on like what I like and do not like, but I'm curious to hear yours. Okay, so first question is beach or mountains?
Definitely beach.
Okay,
100%. It will always be the beach.
thank God. I'm like, my husband loves
I
the
like my
mountains.
occasional snowboarding trip here and there,
Yeah.
but if I have a choice, I want to be somewhere hot and sunny on
Yeah.
a beach.
Which you are at the beach, right? Like, how far is the beach from you?
5 minutes.
Oh my God, what
So
a
I'm
dream.
actually I'm on the river, but right by where like the rockets launch.
Yeah.
Yeah. My whole house shakes.
That's crazy. My kids would die.
Mhm.
Oh my God, Mom.
My kids come stampeding like in the middle of the night. I'm like, how many times did I tell you it's rocket? Like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the time.
Oh. You're like, do you not know where we live?
Right.
Well, actually explain a little bit to those who don't know. Where do you live?
So I actually live in Merritt Island. So I'm literally like just steps away, I say, from Kennedy Space Center. So
Oh, that's so awesome. No, I'm just over here in the middle of all of Florida, which is I actually feel comfortable here. So, but
yes.
I would love a beach house for the family. That's definitely a goal. So good because I love the beach. Husband loves the mountains. I'm like, why? Why?
We can have a second home there someday,
Yeah,
but
well,
not
that'll be
right
our
now.
third home. The first one's the beach, the third one's the mountains.
There you go.
Okay, early bird or night owl?
So, this is actually a very funny topic because my husband always tells me, he's like, you're not a morning person or a night person. You're like between 10 and 8. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's when I'm functioning at my best. If I have to choose, I would definitely say nighttime.
Nighttime. Okay, so because I
Mhm.
was an early bird, but like after kids, I'm like, I don't want to wake up ever. I don't wake me
I
up.
need all the sleep that I can get.
Yes, I used to love mornings, but now I'm just like, oh God, please let me sleep. Okay, coffee or matcha?
Coffee.
Good choice. Okay,
Yes.
this one's a little bit different. Just because, millennials here, 2000s movies or 2000s music?
Music all day long.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh my gosh, I just got my kid. Like, they're finally, they're growing up. They want their kiddie music. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm done. So then we started listening to a couple of 2000s and they're liking
Oh,
it. I'm like, thank God, because I can't with the Peppa Pig sometimes.
so my favorite thing to do is to play like throwback music from like 2000, 2010,
Yeah.
and like completely embarrass my kids. They're like,
Yeah.
"Mom, what is going on?" I'm like, "This is my job. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?"
yeah, I know. They're just at first they're like, but now my
Mhm.
son is like definitely into it and now we're vibing together and I'm like, good, because I need a good vibe and you guys are my
That's
only friends
right.
right now. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Heather, so much for doing this. This has been so much fun to get to know you better. And I hope everyone watching got to know you better too. And honestly, you are someone that is just not only just amazing, but someone you can trust. And I know you can get people to the finish line and through those doors with those keys. So thanks so much for joining Get Real with Nat. I
Thank
appreciate
you so
you.
much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everyone, just stay tuned for the next one. And thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.